is DP27 The Light, and today I'm going to take a look at Hellpoint, and we're going to kind of take a look at the performance of Hellpoint in Linux using a variety of different APIs. One of the things I really like about Cradle Games Hellpoint is basically the way they developed it for all platforms, and we can kind of take a look at it in Linux and just kind of see what they did and see how the game performs in different scenarios. So let's just jump into the desktop. So I'm going to take a look. So first I'll show you my Mango head config, because that way I can just kind of like basically benchmark the games as I'm running them as well. So that'll be nice. This is already kind of, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but in terms of the output for this, if you look down here under interactions, I have it all set up already. And for the Linux version, it's running Vulkan. I can't get it to run in OpenGL. It'd be cool to take a look and see what it does with OpenGL, but Vulkan's preferable, so it's great to see that the developers developed with Vulkan in mind, because that really just makes more sense to use Vulkan. It's a better and more mature and newer API than OpenGL. So, and that's not really something that you see a lot with developers on Linux. Like if someone makes a Linux port, typically they use OpenGL, like Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, games like that. Whereas Hellpoint actually used Vulkan API, which is really sweet. So let's go over to Lutris. You can see I have like a lot of games here, and this is a really cool thing. One of the things I've learned about Lutris that I'm not going to go into in this video, but there is a way to basically take your configuration of how you have all your games set up on a particular computer, and just take that configuration and just plop it over to any other computer. Depending, you have to kind of think about how you're going to do it. Like if I have multiple computers, I name the hard drive I'm going to store the games on, and the folders that I put the games into, I'm going to store it the exact same on the other external hard drive of the other computer, and then everything just kind of works. But anyways, I'm not going to get into that right now, but here's Hellpoint for Linux right here. So we'll go ahead and click play. Hopefully the sound and everything comes through, my voice, and hopefully this is not too loud on the side of the game. So Cradle Games, we're running Vulkan through Linux. OpenGL I can't get to work so far, but not big deal, because Vulkan is better than OpenGL, so good on them. Got sound running around 60 frames a second, and it's gonna jumble up here as I play. Now it jumps down to 45. Everything's looking good. Running through Linux, gonna press F2, and now we should be logging on Mango Head. And yep, there we go. Take these guys out. And there we go. And then if I press F2, it should log it. Let's just double check and see if it was logging. There we go. It says Vulkan. Good. That's what we wanted. So we'll exit out of that. I'll test to see if this game audio to my voice audio is on par. It was not earlier. Screwing shit up. So we went through Linux, we went through Vulkan, and I recorded it to Mango Head. Now I'm going to do DXVK, so I'm going to do DXVK. I'm actually going to do a dash at the end because I believe, click save, if I go to the log, which is over here, yeah, I'm just doing it so that I have a little dash right there. Vulkan, okay. Go here, and we're going to do custom, and do the top one should be DXVK. All right, we should have everything geared to go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the fact that I'm doing screen capture might be why I'm getting bad performance. In my experience, OBS is more intensive on your system when you're doing screen capture versus window capture. At least that's what I remember in the past. Could have changed. So here we are with Hellpoint. We're using GOG Galaxy, we're online, and we're using DXVK to run GOG Galaxy on Wine, and we're running DXVK for Hellpoint in a fake Windows environment. Okay. And we're going to try all APIs with this method. DirectX 11, DirectX 12, and Vulkan. So press F2 and now start logging this one. Really been enjoying this game. Yes, I'm overpowered. I know. I'm sorry. I'm a cheater. Yeah. But okie dokie. Press F2 and that should log it. All right, so we did that one. All right, while that loads, let's see what our situation is. And that did it, DXVK, just the way we wanted. So now I'm going to change that to D3, 3D12. And then click File, Save. The level design of this game's okay. The thing I notice is that it doesn't carry the same level of remembrance as Dark Souls. Something about Dark Souls where the way the environments are between each other is really separates themselves from each other. They stand out. It's like, oh, I remember this location, Blighttown, the Undead Burge, Sen's Fortress. You know, everything just kind of stands out. But in this game, not so much. Not so much. This location's actually pretty good, though. I like this spot. It is a bit different, and sometimes it's hard to capture variation. Bloodborne suffered from it. I'm pretty sure that DirectX 12 is running the worst, which is kind of be expected. The developers said developers acted like it didn't even work. From what I can tell, Windows is running like the worst out of every, not running the worst, I should say, having the most glitches, because I've heard descriptions of glitches from Windows users that like I've never seen. I can't really say that I've experienced any glitches. Some texture, I've got texture flickering and some texture flickering in Linux, whether through DXVK or native Linux, but texture flickering, but nothing else. No crashes, nothing else. The game runs fine. The frame rate, I think, is what's least impressive. I mean, why is this not 60 frames a second? This game doesn't seem that taxing. But, and I'm not even running split screen. So, I hope I did that right. Did I? Yeah, it should be. All right. Did that work? No, see, it keeps... For some reason, it's not saving the configuration. I haven't marked. File, save. Let's try to figure this out, right? I'm just going to kill wine for a second here. Okay, everything should be working. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. Come on, Linux. Why are you making me look bad? I'm trying to vouch for Linux. I'm not trying to talk you down, but you're failing me right now. You're failing me. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just trying to get you to step up your game. Step it up so I don't have to step it down. Linux sucks. The big thing about Linux is a lot of people look at it wrong and think like, well, games don't run that good, you know, and everything just runs so great on Sony or something. And it's like, well, it's true, but it has nothing to do with the possibility of performance. It has to do with the companies wanting to not support things and then support another thing. You know, it's fascinating that Linux is able to even do what it's doing without any support whatsoever, with just big companies like Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo being like, fuck off. You know, the fact that it can do all this despite that is insane. And just, it's just stupid that they close everything up. It's just, can we just play games, man? Can you just sell it and let us purchase it when we want to purchase it and we can buy it? All right. Hopefully this works, huh? Is it going to work this time? All right. We got DK D3D. We need some major improvements on that for Cyberpunk 2077. Come on, guys. Get with it. The Witcher 3 runs really good on DXVK. It's like probably the best running game on DXVK, regardless if you're using Steam or Good Old Games, which is why I use Good Old Games. It's DRM free. Come on, get with it, guys. Support the platform that does the most important aspects, not things that don't matter as much, like, oh, you supporting Linux or not? I think there's some major reasons why Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't use Vulkan. I'm guessing CD Projekt Red team is used to developing games for DirectX, so that's probably a big reason why they do that. Oh, it's struggling. 31 frames per second, 33, 36. You're just struggling over here. Struggling. Okay. I just massacred these guys. Alright, did it actually work? Or am I gonna... Okay. So apparently we have to completely X out. Kill all wine processes. You're done. Sit. Okay. I guess that makes sense. So like the Mango HUD config wants you to have things set up before you're even running wine. That's because I understand. I get it now. So it's not really the fault of Mango HUD at all. It's not that it's not working. It's just Mango HUD loads as I launch GOG Galaxy. So, you know, if you don't have it configured the way you want it before launching it, it's never going to change. Makes sense. So it should work now. Should work. Sorry about this. It's been a rocky road, but that's okay. And Vulkan on wine. Here we go. To round it out. Spoil alert, if anyone watches this before I make the other video. So the RX 470 and the GTX 1060 through Linux runs basically the same. 1060 does a little better in DXVK, and RX 470 does a little better with DirectX 12 and Vulkan. So, just the generic story between AMD and NVIDIA. Oh, this is tricky. So I have two Vulkans right now. I'm gonna press F2 and see what I get. And we got 3 Vulkans. Okay, yep, everything's working. I just have to log out and log back in for it to work properly. All right, let's do this. And there's already just so many great games that are DRM free on GOG Games now. It's crazy. And we got games like Bloodlines 2 coming out, and Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out, and Biomutant. That's crazy. And Cyberpunk 2077. Mortal Shell will even eventually be coming. I don't know why they just don't release it this next month, because I would totally play it. But that's their biz. I kind of run my own custom Lutris. So you see all these different games. Technically, they're not even set up the way that you would set up where you go to Lutris and you like download the games or anything like that. they're actually all in one prefix, which is actually this prefix here, good old Galaxy 2.0. And go over here to folders, and you'll see this is basically the folders that I have it saved into. So typically this is the hard drive, and then here's games. Typically you would have Lutris games install right here, but instead what I did was you have this is my GOG Galaxy folder, which basically has the application. So as you can see, I'm in Linux and I'm running good old game Galaxy, and it has my games synced up. So go back over there. Dive into here, and I even have other things like I have Cemu and Dolphin, because Dolphin actually is currently running better when you just run it through Wine. I've used the version for Linux, and then I've used just the Windows version through Wine, and it seems to just perform better. That's kind of the weird thing, is that a lot of times DXVK and Vulkan is just outperforming OpenGL almost all the time. So it's kind of an oddball situation. But anyway, so if we go to 32-bit, you'll find the GOG Galaxy folder, and this is where GOG Galaxy would install on a GOG Galaxy would install on a Windows machine, and then this is where your games folder would be. And then here you see, I have all my games, and you can go two ways about it. In Lutris, so let's look at Dragon's Dogma. So if I go over here, Dragon's Dogma, I have it configured to find the prefix and to find the executable within the same prefix that my GOG Galaxy is running. You couldn't really open up both games at once. I believe so, but I don't think Wine likes being opened up twice for the same prefix, as far as I know. And here's all the settings, and you just kind of configure it the way that you want it. And normally there's just not much configuration that you need for games to run. And normally when games don't run without like a lot of configuration, then I'm just like, well, I'm just not going to play that kind of game. That's kind of how I operate in that sense. Because a game like Dragon's Dogma, an amazing game, already runs without any fiddling. But I don't necessarily even have to launch it from Lutris. I could also just go to good old games in Wine, and then just go to Dragon's Dogma and just run it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to run Hellpoint because that's our focus. And so another thing you can do with GOG Galaxy, it'd be really great if GOG Galaxy, GOG Galaxy was for Linux. We're in this weird place. Some people don't want to use CD Projekt's good old games because they don't support Linux currently. But DRM free is just inherently superior to Steam, and because of that, that's why this program works. A lot of programs and Windows programs you try to run through Wine won't even work because they have so much junk going on around them. But GOG Galaxy is, made by guys that support DRM free practices, and just in general, all their games and everything just seem to operate really well because there's no DRM, no nonsense like thrown onto it. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do here. And before I get into that, again, GOG Galaxy allows you to link the executables of any program within your computer. And so when I'm running through Wine, it basically, the prefix thinks of itself as one little Windows environment. So, you take something like Dark Souls Remastered, and, all I have to do is plop the executable in the same prefix, and then you just link the executable, and boom. Obviously, if it's a Steam game, you have to have Steam running at the same time. So technically, it's not going to work that well unless you might as well just be running Steam and doing the Steam Proton stuff for those games. But I just like to show that it's available. It works better for something like Windows. All right, so let me just make sure everything's still running. Yep. Okay, so if I go over here, and you'll actually see, and GOG Galaxy, GOG Galaxy doesn't work perfectly in Wine. It's a little glitchy, but it works fine. So here we go. This is DXVK, and that's VK D3D or D3D12, or it's DirectX. And then we have Vulkan. And the way I did that was I went to configure, and when you go down, you can basically make custom executables. And basically all I did was I linked the same executable every single time and just changed the commands. So argument dash force dash D3D12, which is for DirectX 12. And then this one, force dash GL core, would be for OpenGL, but it doesn't work. Not sure why, but it's the last thing you'd ever want to use anyways. And then force dash Vulkan, so that you can run it in Vulkan, like so. I mean, my overall thoughts about Hellpoint, it's funny because I like the game so much simply because of the way that the developers, Cradle Games, went about selling the game. It works on all platforms. It's just done the way it should be. It's a game that has multiplayer. It has the split screen co-op. It just kind of has PvP. It just kind of, everything just works. Everything's just available and accessible, and they pretty much just put the effort to give you the best possible experience that you could have. And whether that is someone that uses a Nintendo Switch or someone that uses Linux, it's just a game that's accessible to everybody. And that's kind of how games should be made. So from that perspective, really impressed with what Cradle Games come up with. The game seems good. Definitely it's not going to be as good as Dark Souls, obviously. I can already tell that by playing it, but I kind of like it more than games like Noah and The Surge and other Souls-likes. It has more of that Dark Souls feel to it that I always enjoy. For me personally, looking at something like Dark Souls, it's all about the story is the main reason I play it. The fact that it has really good gameplay and combat only adds to that reasoning. But a lot of people undermine the fact that, a real reason why a lot of people like Dark Souls is the story. That's why people play Dark Souls. It's the story, and then the combat just adds to it. But yeah. Anyway, this is a look at Hellpoint. It runs great on a lot of different systems. I suppose it's not perfect. Somehow the game's dipping down to like 30 frames a second. But the fact that it just runs on anything is awesome. And yeah, this is DP27, the light.